Welcome to the Resilient Mindset Podcast, an exciting new podcast by Resilience Queen, Justine Martin. Justine is the owner and founder of the Resilient Mindset, a division of the Justine Martin Corporation. Justine draws on her years of experience and knowledge, consulting with clients to develop and sustain a positive mindset. Focused on igniting your passion, purpose and power, follow the Resilience Queen each week as she delves into the mind of her guests, exploring fascinating stories and inspiring journeys.
Kate Herford is super passionate about empowering aspiring business mums to go from lacking belief in themselves or their business ideas to becoming confident and accomplished CEOs running a successful 5 to 6 figure business so they can make lifestyle choices and create financial freedom for themselves and their family. Kate draws on her extensive experience from managing recreational facilities, contracting and procurement in government, direct sales businesses and online marketing to provide resources, online courses and coaching for mums in business. As a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, Kate has a unique understanding of how trauma, motherhood, divorce and life challenges impact the mindset of mums starting out in business. It is this experience, use of NLP and empathy that sees Kate helping her clients achieve life-changing breakthroughs, to be seen and heard so they can speak their truth, stand out and become an authority in their chosen niche. Kate Herford lives in Torquay, Australia, is a mum of 5 and a fur baby to a quirky golden retriever. Welcome, Kate, to the Resilience Mindset Podcast. How are you today?
I'm fantastic, Justine. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Let's get into it. What does resilience mean to you?
Look, for me, it means having the tools and resources at your fingertips to be able to work through any situation that comes up. It's about having a toolkit, and when something comes up, you're able to almost step back and take a bird's eye view and look at what are all the alternative solutions to the problem that you're facing. And then you can pick a tool that suits the situation you're in at the time. So it does require some critical thinking, because often when problems come up, you've got to have that creative thinking to move through a solution. So to me, it's about tools and resources, but having so many options available to you and being able to work through the one that's right for you at the time.
That's a great definition. No one's explained it like that before. And I'm always learning new things about resilience, even though I'm known as the Resilience Queen, because everyone has their own take on it. So what's an adversity that you faced and how did you draw on your resilience to cope, Kate?
Okay, so there's probably going to be a trigger warning here. And this is a story that I'm really just starting to tell. It's one from my childhood. As a tall girl, my parents, and this was back in the 70s, my parents were concerned that I was tall and that I would never be married. And so they took me to a doctor who was going to assess the progress of my height. And over a period, from age of 6, for a period of about 8 or 9 years, I went to this doctor once or twice a year. And he measured me, he weighed me, and it was sort of, I look back now and it's like, let's design the perfect person and let's start from childhood. The problem was that he raped me every time I was at the surgery. And he'd had the audacity to explain sort of what he was going to do to my parents so that they were aware. But he only ever did this with girls from the country. And how do I know this? When I was in my 20s, a group of us got together through a newspaper article. And it was interesting when we all rang in to this one girl who was featured in the article. For those of us who had been abused, we all had the same question. It wasn't like, hello, did this happen to you? And the poor girl, Janet, at the other end had to field these conversations. And when we got together, none of us ever spoke about the details. It was just we had this knowing of what each of us had experienced. And, when we sort of assessed it, it was the country girls. And the only city girl that this happened to was one who was in her late teens or mid-teens when she went, and her mother wasn't there. And that's when he did it to her. So from a 6-year-old, I remember being told to go and be naked in the room off the surgery. And he'd positioned my parents so that their backs were to me. And I remember feeling so vulnerable and confused about what was going to happen. And I remember looking, and all I could see was the back of them. And in that instant, as a 6-year-old, it was, nobody loves me. And I'm in my head screaming, thinking, can't you, like, what's going on? But the way he positioned the parents, there was no eye contact. There was no communication. There was no body language permitted. And in that instance, it was, I'm not good enough. No one loves me. I'm by myself. I have to cope. And it's interesting that that's exactly how I've lived my whole life. I had to develop the tools. Well, I guess it wasn't even developed tools. It was just the way I was, that I had to do things for myself because no one was going to be there for me.
Well, your parents had, in your eyes, your parents had let you down at that particular stage. And that had become your normal.
Exactly. But the thing is, it's, and like my parents, we never spoke about it either. It was just, it's just something you have to do. You know, growing up in the country, there were things that you had to do, and that just became another one. Well, that's just another thing that you have to do. And there was a big part of me, the older I got, was when my mum would take me, because it was a day trip. We'd get in the car at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we'd travel to Melbourne. And being tall, I couldn't get shoes. So Mum would dress me in pretty dresses, as much as I could find dresses because I was tall, and shoes, and she'd take us around Melbourne because it was a financial burden for my parents back at that time. And so we would travel into Melbourne, and then occasionally we might go from the Arts Centre, which is where we parked. We might walk up Collins Street to the surgery, and I'd have to get x-rays and all sorts of things. So I just remember my feet were always sore. It was an old, horrible building, and I hated going there, but it was something I had to do. And Mum would always try and do something nice for me. So I felt like it was this, I couldn't find words as a child, but it was like it was a bribe. You know, I'll treat you something nice because I know that there's something that it's not comfortable for you. And so I guess from that, being in school, I then went through this, well, to be loved, I obviously have to be noticed. To be noticed, I have to be good at something. So if I'm good at school, then, and I get top marks, then I'll be noticed and maybe I'll be loved. I don't know. It's just the mind of a child. And I was good at swimming, and so I became very competitive. But that came with its own problems because tall poppy syndrome, you know what it's like at school. If you're good at something, people pick on you. And then because there's this, you're good at it, when you don't get top marks or you get second in a race, oh, you're hopeless. So I then developed this, well, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. Yeah. And I know that that's played out in my life. And it's interesting that in business now, I see it in so many women. And when we get to the cause of it, there's been some sort of trauma, and that's what holds them back in business. So adversity like that's just been my whole life. But what's happened is when I was told that I would be too tall to get married, I ended up marrying a short man because at the time I went back to that 6-year-old self. I'm not worthy. No one would love me. There was no one out there.
I'm lucky someone loves me even though he's short.
Yeah, all of that. And it's funny that once I started on my personal development journey, I got so clear with that. I got present with that because when he asked me to marry him, in my head I'm screaming no. But then I'm going, well, no one else is there. It's not going to be anyone else. So it's just
sounds
what I do.
like me with my first marriage as well, because I'm a tall girl.
Yes, we're the same height.
Yeah. So I can relate to a lot of what you've said. So going back as a teenager and then as an adult, what coping mechanisms did you put into place to help you build that resilience?
Look, I think, and I don't know whether it's resilience or habits, and this is the question I've come to lately. Is it the resilience that I built just a filter that I put, that I'm strong personality and I can cope and that sort of thing.
Well, that was your coping mechanism.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And for most people, they would see me as a confident, outgoing person. However, I know inside I am at times I just want to scream and go, can't someone see through this bullshit? Sorry.
That's right. We swear on this podcast. That's fine.
Oh, probably shouldn't have told me that. But I mean,
we're authentic. It's all about being authentic. And we swear in real life, so outside of, the cyberspace. So,
cool.
If you drop the odd F-bomb, that's fine.
Okay.
Fine by me.
All right. Good to know. But I think, for me, when I'm being this confident person, because that's how I cope, and what I'm screaming inside going, can't someone see through this bullshit that I'm putting forward, that I'm vulnerable, and I just want someone to notice me and see the true me. And I think, that's just what I've put forward. And it's taken me a lot to ask for help. It's one of those things. You never ask me, I can do it myself. And you go on this path of taking so long to do things because you're not prepared to ask for help, because that would
you
be
think that you can do it yourself, and if you ask for help, you're seen as a failure within your own false beliefs. No one else's false beliefs, just your own false beliefs.
Yeah, that's it.
Where it's a sign of strength to actually ask for help.
Oh, I know. But it's this crazy thing that and it is that 6-year-old child going, well, no one's there for me. I can't ask for help.
I have to do this by myself.
That's it. And I know that there's been a couple of times in my life where I actually have asked for help from my family, and they just assumed I could cope. And my mother actually did say in one instance when I asked for $10, I actually needed $20. I was at university and I was running out of money, and I needed $7.60 to buy a tram ticket, and I had no food. And so my sister happened to drop round, and I said, could I borrow $10 off you? And she goes, yeah, that's cool. And Mum said, I'll put the money in your account. So I'm waiting. I bought the train ticket, which meant I had $2.40 left. And she said, oh, no, your sister told me that you borrowed $10 off her, so I didn't put the money in your account. So I ended up having to eat rice, boiled rice, tomatoes and fried cabbage for 3 or 4 weeks because I had no money. I could have said to Mum, well, actually, I actually did need that money. But for me to ask her for $10, that was my ask, and I didn't get it. So it is very much, I'll do it myself, I'll work it out. And now I ask for help more often. And Bernsey, he'll call me stubborn, and he'll just get in and do.
So Bernsy's Kate's partner.
Yes.
For the listeners.
Yes. So I repartnered. I left my marriage when I realised that I wasn't being true to myself, and I couldn't be the person that I wanted to be, and the mum that I wanted to be for my boys. And I left my marriage, and things happen for a reason. And I found this wonderful man who he gets me. And
that's what you want in life.
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah. So, what was the question? Adversity. Yeah. Look, I've faced a lot of it in my lifetime, like so many other women, and it's simply, those coping mechanisms that I put in place were that I do it myself. And I think about solutions, and that's why when you said what was resilience, that, it is that creative thinking. And in an instant I can go, well, I've got 3 or 4 choices of how I can actually do something. What's the best now? And if that one doesn't work, I've got something else. So, yeah.
That's great. So what's been your biggest failure to date, and what resilience techniques did you use to get back up from it?
My biggest failure. Wow, that's a great question.
We've got some new questions in this series.
I know. It's like, oh my God. Thanks for the warning.
Nothing like putting you on the spot.
Yeah. Look, my biggest failure, I think, I could say my marriage. However, I think that was a great learning for where I needed to go in my life.
And you've got great kids from that.
Oh, yeah, fantastic kids. I think my biggest failure is in my business, avoiding finding who I was and standing out and stepping up. And that takes so much courage when you've been through adversity, or I'm going to say trauma in your life. It's really difficult to stand up and stand out. And I guess it's been the lack of consistency. Sometimes I am out there and then all of a sudden I'll pull back and then and I recognise this in, the women that I coach, that for those who have been through trauma in childhood, there is this, this fear of failure that is this huge fear.
Or fear of success as well.
Oh, absolutely. It's that double-edged sword. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
If you don't.
And I think for me, it's the failure to keep moving forwards without jumping 10 steps back.
Yeah.
Because of that fear of judgment, that fear of not being loved, the fear of what will success look like, because as a child, if I succeeded, I got pulled down.
Yeah.
And it's second guessing yourself. So, but I think though with any failure, you actually then develop a learning from that as well. So it's about getting uncomfortable and keeping on doing what you need to do to move forward.
Well, most people are uncomfortable in something, but until you get uncomfortable about being uncomfortable, things don't change in your life.
Yeah. And that's why I've loved working with you. I mean, you actually inspire me so much, because you say what you're going to do and you just get on and do it. And I go, God, I should be more like Justine.
And people say that to me all the time. They're like, do you have more than 24 hours in your day? And I'm like, no, why? Well, you get so much done. It's like, yeah, but I don't procrastinate on things. So whereas you're probably sitting there, and I say you're as in listeners, you're probably sitting there procrastinating, I need to get this done, or I'll do that in the future, or one day I'll get to that. I do it.
Yeah,
it's like,
you do.
Okay, well,
you do. Yeah.
And that comes down to me, and I've said this time and time again, that time is the most precious commodity, because you can buy it, reuse it, sell it, borrow it, or buy it. And once it's gone, it's gone. So be careful on what and who you spend it on. And if you've got dreams, like I've got big dreams, as you know, Kate, they're not just going to happen by themselves. You actually have to be proactive. Yeah. And you'll gain resilience by doing that, because when you've set your goals, there'll be obstacles in the way. There always is. Life was never meant to be easy. But, when you've got the coping mechanisms that we all have, we just don't realise what a lot of them are.
Yeah.
You will reach your goals and achieve, a better life if that's what you're doing. some people use food as coping mechanisms, or some people use sex, or they'll use alcohol, or they'll use gambling as coping mechanisms, and that's not actually building resilience.
No.
That's just putting a Band-Aid over it and not dealing with the bigger picture. So,
absolutely. And the other thing, you touched on procrastination, and for me, I know, and for a lot of women, whether they admit it or not, it's that perfectionism that comes out. I've got to do things perfect, and I can't start something unless everything's in place and perfect, because if I put something out there, or if I start doing social media and take photos of myself, then people are going to judge me, and if it's not perfect, I can't do it. I used to be
like that. I used to be, not anymore.
Oh, are not.
Not when I do live streams in my pajamas. So there you go. No. Look, I used to be about that, and it all had to be perfect, and everything had to be the best of best before I could even start the project. Not anymore. You just get in and do it, and you improve with time, you improve with age, and things get done. And then when things start getting done and you're ticking off your lists and that, it's like, wow, I am achieving some stuff. And sometimes you have to take a step backwards to realise how far you've actually come forward.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or otherwise, you don't see that bigger picture. So, okay, my next question: who are your role models in resilience, Kate?
It's funny. My mum. My mum is my biggest role model. However, it took me until my early 40s to actually appreciate everything that she did and who she was as a woman. After I separated, she was there for me. And that was because I pushed her away. That was just the way the marriage went, that I didn't have a good relationship with my mother, because when I got together with my ex, I had just gone through making a police report about the doctor. I'd been connecting with the other women who, like me, had, I ended up taking drugs to stop me growing. That's how freakish this all is. And did it work? I don't know. Some of the other women, they actually ended up with rare cancers, infertile. So many horrible things happened. And so I was in a really negative place. Anyway, when I separated, Mum was there to catch me. She was like, that the net you have under a trapeze artist. And, she caught me, and I learnt some things about what she had been through in her life. And I thought, wow. And, for me, it was about holding the family together, what she had to go through, because the bank many times could have taken our home. And there were times that she admitted where she didn't eat an evening meal. She got busy in the kitchen because we were poor. She had to work through, she was actually the ultimate entrepreneur. She was always doing something. She was spinning and weaving to make fabric, and ended up winning fashion awards as part of the project team for doing that. She home hosted overseas tourists, which gave me a love of travel, to put extra food on the table. We go and collect what I call the Billy buttons. They're those yellow round, I don't even know what they're called, but we go and collect stuff and sell it in a shop that she started at home.
It's amazing that, through your adversity of your marriage splitting up and you going home and your mum catching you in that safety net, that you actually learnt so much about her that if you hadn't have faced that adversity, that would probably never have happened.
Oh, no, I don't think so. And it's interesting, because now I look at what I stand for, and I'm very much about freedom and sovereignty and taking responsibility for your own life. And, you can't blame other people. I've done the healing. I wasn't responsible for what happened to me, and I know that.
But you're responsible with what happens to you in the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think from looking at Mum and how she's inspired me, it's meant that I'm now taking control of my life and being responsible for what's going on for me. And, so now, I'm into gardening and making sure that we've got food and I'm looking at how I can be sustainable and taking responsibility for my life, which is what my mum did. And she taught us that, but it was like, that's another thing Mum does. And I see it in my kids now. They're going, oh, God, here goes Mum. Oh, my God. And hopefully in a few years they might appreciate, what we're doing to put food on the table and just...
And they might come back to you one day and ask you some questions and be surprised.
Yeah, that's it.
And you just never know.
No.
Any other role models in resilience?
Look, I think the last couple of years there have been some amazing women I've connected with who have the same belief system around freedom and sovereignty and speaking their truth and standing up, and despite being censored and knocked down, and, they're still there sharing and wanting to support other women, and in particular mums and their families. They are very inspirational. And, of course, you, Justine. Like working with you, we worked together. I was Justine's business coach it was just 12 months, a little bit over 12 months.
And a couple of years ago now.
Yeah. And everything Justine had been through just inspired me. And I've seen now that everything we worked on, she has put in place and it's coming to fruition. And, I'd walk away from some of our sessions going, man, she just gets in and does stuff. Like, she's not afraid.
No, really, she's saying, man, she's nuts.
Yes, yeah. Like the crazy ideas that you'd come up with. And now I look and I, see what you're doing and we catch up and it's like, God damn, she's done them. So you, and I see how you inspire.
Because I'd ring and say, what do you think of this? What do you think of this one?
Like,
and
can we just
say,
focus
no more bright, shiny objects. Just focus on one thing. Why? Why do we have to focus on one thing?
Justine's not one of these people who can focus on one thing. But do you know what? I think your ability to multitask and do that sort of thing is because you're not stuck in perfectionism. And what you said about time before, it's precious. Yeah. You've come to terms with that. And so you're going out and doing. For, people like, I'm going to put my hand up myself, and others who I guess are really still working through that perfectionism and the trauma or whatever, it takes more. And so focusing on one thing so that they can then go, tick, I've actually achieved that. Wow, look back and see what I've done. But it's like herding cats with some women. It's like, no, come back. We'll just do this. And then when we tick it off, it's like, wow, look what you've done. But they get into this phase and then go off in another direction. And I actually wonder whether that is to do with past trauma, that
it's deflecting.
Not completing something because that's the way they've been through life. And I look at all the different jobs I've had. It's the same. I'd be in a job for a little while and then I'd end up moving to another job. And it's the same in business. I started in one place and now I found my home. I love what I do. I love inspiring mums to, see in themselves what I see in them. And that's my inspiration. But it is about helping women to work through that, focus on one thing, get some ticks on the board, knowing that they are enough, that they can do it, they are amazing, and then putting in the strategies like yourself. You just, I don't know, what haven't you done in the last 12 months, Justine?
Let's see. Let me think. There's a whole heap coming up in the next 6 months. There's a big list. There's a big list to be ticked off in the next 6 months, Kate. So hang on for the ride and listen.
Okay.
Follow me on socials. Follow me on socials at justinemartin.com.au and or on Facebook on Resilience Mindset, and you'll see a whole heap coming through. So it's exciting. It's exciting to be alive at the moment.
Yeah, so if you want inspiration.
So what are some of your passions?
If you want inspiration, Justine will do it. Yeah. Some of my passions. Look, for me...
We brushed on some of this, gardening.
Yes, gardening. I started gardening, having our vegetable garden out the back in August last year, and one of the things I did was that, none of this is going to work, and I planted too much, and then we had an excess of products because, Dad, I can actually grow shit. It was exciting. It was exciting. So I've really sort of looked at that. And that's from a couple of different points. It's about connecting with earth and grounding myself. Yes, absolutely. And I guess taking the focus out of technology and all that sort of stuff. It's getting back to the basics and learning how to nurture our souls and ourselves and be really grounded in that. And I've connected with a great community of families who are doing the same. And, some of them are here locally, but, technology's helped me to, connect with other people around the world doing the same thing. So it's exciting to be able to share knowledge. So I do love that. And I think my passion, and it's one of my core values, is freedom. I'm really starting to be inspired by those women who are standing up and fighting for freedom and the ability to speak out and not be censored. So that's certainly, it's a core value. And I think over the last 2 years, it's actually, grown in me and I've been able to express myself a lot clearer.
That's fantastic.
But then, for my business, it's the passion of being able to see a woman, a mum, just get it and just build that little bit of confidence to go, I did
and then roll with it.
Yes, and then it's about that supporting and it's like getting them to ride a wave that, see, you can do it. And I think it's so much easier to, be on the outside and see what someone is capable of because their belief isn't there. And I can, as you know, I mean, you have ideas popping, and there's been some women I've connected with, and I've just had all these ideas popping, and I have to write them down because I can't share them. They'll be too overwhelmed by them. So I do love that, and that's why I love my business. And the other side of that is it's showing my kids and the children of these other mums that 9 to 5 doesn't have to be the way of your lifestyle. Like, I think we're put into an education system that, it's go to school, get a job, work 9 to 5 for 50 years, retire. And if you're not dead by then, you live on a pittance and then you die. And I think for me, it's about, okay, how can we do things differently? Can we step outside the system and inspire our kids to be entrepreneurs because they've seen mum
and grandkids?
Yep. Yes, absolutely. Well, your son's an entrepreneur. I mean, that's awesome.
Yep.
So I think
very proud of him.
Yes. And I think that's
Rising Sun FPV up in far north Queensland. So if you need any of your drones, if you want to go into drone racing, we'll give him a bit of a plug, Kate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a look at his.
Yeah. And
I'm a proud mum. And being that role model in both my children's lives. And, my daughter steps up and she helps here in Jusdar, and Zach's got his own $1 million company up in far north Queensland that he started from scratch. And they are looking. Don't ever think that your kids aren't watching you, and
they so are,
because they are. They're right from when they're little, from when they're little. And my grandkids now watch me.
Yeah. And I think that's the important things for mums to realise is that by not quitting, by stepping into your own power, you are creating a future for your children to see things differently and see things that are really, really valuable. So, yeah.
So how do you deal with setbacks in your life, Kate?
I think it's about taking the lessons from them. Like, what's the quote? Something about if you're not learning from things, everything, whether it be a failure, and for failing forward in business is absolutely like, God, some of the crap that I've done and some of the big fails that I've done, it's like, oh my God, I spent that. Yep. But you learn from it. And look, I spent 12 months as a stepmom coach, and, I created a course.
That's when we met. You were doing
that's right. Yeah.
At a network event.
Yep. But what happened was it wasn't for me. And I spent thousands of dollars, and I got thousands of views on videos. But there was something in me, I just went, it's not for me. This actually isn't the space I want to be in, because I'm a stepmom. When I partnered with Burnsy, he had 3 kids full time. Well, he had 5 kids living at the home. 2 of the older ones moved out. So I've been a stepmom of 3 kids full time. So, from that, it was a huge fail, but there was so much learning in it because I found what I wanted to do. And, a fail is only a fail if you don't learn the lessons from that.
That's right. A mistake you do once,
yes,
not twice.
Yes, yeah. If you do it twice, then you haven't learned from the first time. So absolutely,
yeah. It's not a mistake the second time; it's planned.
Yep.
That's what my mum said to me once about children. Okay. Moving right along. What do you do to practice self-care and personal wellness? What are you doing at the moment for your self-care?
Yeah. So for me, for the last few years, I've been supplementing natural supplements. I know that our food, and that this is part of the reason why I'm growing it, I know that our food doesn't provide us with the nutrients that we actually need. And so one of my self-care is supplementation. I did go off it for a couple of months, and I just felt like terrible. And it's like, get me back on it. Oh, yeah, everything. And look, I do have some dietary issues, so I have to be careful with what foods I eat. And thankfully, I've connected with some amazing doctor in America this last week, so I'll be working with her to sort some of that stuff out. But I try to take time for me. The last few weeks, I haven't been on top of the world, so I've just put myself to bed and just gone, I'm going to take that time. I walk every day, unless I don't get out of bed because I'm having that sleep in. But, the general habit is that I move myself every day, and it's getting out for a walk with
and you're eating
dog.
Right, and you're looking after your mind space. And
that's it.
And all of those as well.
Yeah. And I think, we have a massage occasionally and look at how we can improve our bodies, but also it's taking time with Burnsy to have that couple time.
That's really important.
Mm-hmm. And if our kids are a bit older now, so we just go, see ya, we're going out. And we do.
And you've bought a caravan, so you go off flitting around everywhere.
Yep. We're about to head away again this weekend. So,
Soon to have Van Gogh decals on the side.
Oh, yeah. Can't wait for that one.
We're still working on that one from Juzzy here.
Yes.
So if you need decals on your caravans, look me up. So what's a quote that you live by, Kate?
One quote. Gee, that's a hard one. I think the one that really stuck to mind was if you're given an opportunity, say yes and work out the details later. Yeah. I think it was Richard Branson who said that one. And I think for what that's done for me is, I've said yes to a lot of stuff, and you don't always know what is entailed in that. But if it excites you and you think, wow, I'm aligned with this, then go for it. Because if you can open up your mind, and this is where I use a lot of NLP techniques with my clients, it's asking the better question is, how can I? So if you say yes to something and then get scared, it's, how can I make this happen? And then you get into creative mode and find those solutions.
Yeah. I always say yes and then work it out later.
Yeah. Oh, you do. You do.
I do. Sometimes to my own detriment, but yeah, I do. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Speak
and
your
for
truth.
some of us 18 years ago, when we were 18, that was a long time ago. So,
oh, God.
Speak your truth?
It's 3 times the age. Yeah, speak your truth. Actually, when
I like that.
Yeah, because I think for a lot of our life where we say things based on societal norms and expectations, which don't necessarily align with who we are at the core. So I think speak your truth. Don't be afraid to stand up for what you believe in, because if you stand up for what you believe in, then you're living your life, not someone else's.
Yeah. And I say that to my kids all the time. It's like, don't sit and whinge and bitch about something. Get in and be proactive about it. And, I've run for Parliament twice, federal Parliament in 2 different states of Australia. And I'm pretty proud of what I've achieved with that. Although I didn't get elected, the policies that I stood for back in 2010, a lot of them have actually now come forth and been made into bills through the Victorian Parliament. So and are helping a lot of people, which was, rather than sitting there just whinging, oh, I wish this had happened, or I don't like this politician, or I don't like that. Be proactive and do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are 3 books you'd recommend to my audience and why?
There's what's his name? Hang on, let me step back. Oh God, what's his name? John Maxwell. Blow the lid off your capacity.
Okay.
That one was brilliant. I was in America a few years ago and I saw him speak when he launched that book.
Yep.
And I think he talks about we have so much more capability than we give ourselves credit for. And so that's a book. And I think John Maxwell is brilliant. Love his work, and I've got on Audible numerous of his books.
Yep.
Mel Robbins, The 5-Second Rule.
I live by that.
Yeah. I haven't been.
I think
so
I
much.
told you about that one too. I think a couple of years ago.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, look, so she pops up and down. What are some of the others? Look, I think there's so many great books
I believe
out there.
that you bought a book not so long ago. That was a good book.
What was the name of that?
Was that Raw, Finding the Strength Within?
Yes, it was. And it was this wonderful book where women were telling their stories. And I actually knew 3 of the women in the book. So it was great to read their stories. But, of course, Justine being a client, I just went and read her part first. So
nice save there, Kate.
Yeah. Sorry about that. What are your other books? Were they the ones I was supposed to say?
Well, there are 3 at the moment, soon to be 4. So what are 3 movies you'd recommend to my audience and why?
Oh, do you know what? I can never remember the name of movies. Look, I think The Secret is a good one. Because that's
I'm pretty
Law
sure
of
that's
Attraction.
still on Netflix as well.
Yeah. The Secret. So that's Law of Attraction. You the vibe you put out is the vibe you get back, and I think that's probably
right.
one.
We are the sum of the 5 people we hang around.
It's
all right if you can't remember.
I'm an action.
Are you?
Thing. Yeah, I'm a diehard fan.
Oh God! All right, moving right along.
Yippee-ki-yay!
It's supposed to be the best Christmas movie out there, isn't it?
That's what we watch for Christmas. Something blipped then.
Yeah, it did. Hang on, I'm just marking it. All right, we'll go again. I'm going to mark it again. Okay, so what's one question you'd wished I'd asked you, and how would you have answered?
My God. Uh,
I don't make it easy.
no, you don't. How do you help women in business?
There you go. How do you help women in business?
Okay. So I have coaching programs and online courses to be able to help women to break through those limiting beliefs that they have, so that they can create 5- and 6-figure businesses and live the life and lifestyle of their dreams. There you go.
And she's pretty good at what she does, because I have a 6-figure business.
Yes. And the few Mumpreneur Awards too. We worked on those,
yes.
didn't you? Yes,
we did. That's 12 months ago. They're open again, so look
That's
out.
crazy, isn't it? Yes.
Went there 12 months ago. Yeah. So Kate actually helped me. I was nominated for 11 of those Mumpreneur Awards, and Kate helped me fill in all the paperwork, which took 20-something hours in all, and I won 5 awards from that. So
yes, including Coach of the Year. Yes.
I did get Coach of the Year. Yeah,
so I'm the coach to the Coach of the Year. Sorry, I'm the coach to the Coach of the Year. It was like, damn, why didn't I put in for that? Oh, well, Justine won it, so that was brilliant. And it was such a that was just so deserving for everyone that you've helped along your journey.
Thanks.
So,
Thanks.
yeah.
All right, so now I've got some quirky questions. If you won $10 million tomorrow, what would you spend it on?
I would go with Bernsey, and we would buy a farm where we could set it up and live off the grid. We'd have to sort of still be doing business and stuff though, because I'd want to help people. But have a little farm where we can do our veggies, milk the cow, and live a sustainable life off grid. Yep. And maybe that might be in Texas too. We're not sure, like whether here in Australia or in Texas, if we could get there. So
that was going to be my next question, was if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
We've actually talked about Texas quite a bit. We've been there a few times, and it's interesting with my business and the mentors that really help me to focus my business. They are from Texas, and both Bernsey and I have travelled there a couple of times to attend conferences, and we learn a lot. And there's a lot of people who are entrepreneurial in Texas, and I'd love to go there again.
What was your favourite subject in school?
I think PE. I really enjoyed or some aspects of PE because it got us out of the classroom and we were moving around, and it was just a lot of fun. Yeah.
Cool. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Oh, God, no. We have this argument when my kids are here. They like pineapple, and it's no. Yeah,
I like pineapple.
No.
Okay, so tea, coffee, hot chocolate, or wine?
I have to say coffee at the moment. I gave up alcohol nearly 2 years ago. I've had a couple of glasses of wine. I just found the impact on my body. I've never really liked tea, but I'm trying to drink herbal tea because I know that it's better for me than coffee, but...
You still... Listeners, she's got a cup of coffee in her hands.
I go coffee.
Yeah. And anyone that says that they can't get by without their coffee, that is a false belief. Because I'm 30 years without having a cup of coffee, and I can tell you, I buzz around enough now, let alone putting caffeine in this place. Yeah. Okay, my last quirky question. Toilet paper forwards or backwards?
Forwards. Got to be over. I was always the under, and then I did an exercise. We did some silver bullet exercises when we were employing 150 staff at a leisure centre, and this was one of the exercises. And if you ask that in a room full of people, it'll almost be a 50-50 split.
Yeah,
it's like coloured undies.
Resilience mindset.
Yeah.
Resilience Mindset Podcast. I think there's been one person out of all the episodes I've done that's been a backwards, not a forwards.
Oh, maybe it's a new thing. Maybe it's a new thing.
Maybe. Okay, so I believe we've got an offer for my audience today.
Yes. So for anyone who's ever thought about, they've just had that, I'd love to be in business, or, that you help people with lots of stuff and you think, could this become a business? I've got a free PDF, and it's the top 10 questions that women ask when they're going to start up in business. So if you'd like to grab that, and I look at the question and the answer, and it covers off things like, what are the steps? How much money do I have to do it? How can I find time? We have that mother's guilt when we do something for ourselves. So it's looking at what are the top questions that mums in particular ask when they're looking to start a business. And that will give you some good resources and some answers and confidence to just take the step and do it. Do it.
Just do it. Be successful like us.
That's it. That's it.
So how can people contact you, Kate?
Okay, so you can find my website at www.kateherford.com.au. You can email me at kate@kateherford.com.au, and that's HERFORD. You'll see it on the screen, I think. I'm on Facebook. Kate Herford Consulting is my business page. If you find me under Kate Herford just in the normal profile, happy to accept new friends. I love that. Just drop me a message in Messenger if you do send me a friend request and let me know how you know me. That's always a good one to get started. And then on Insta, LinkedIn and Pinterest, where I'm not as active at the moment, but you can find me at Kate Herford. Pretty simple.
So we'll put all the links in your bio as well for anyone that wants to follow up on that. Well, Kate, it's been an absolute blast having you on today's podcast session.
Well, thank you so much. Like, when you put up the post, does anyone want to be in a podcast? I went, yeah, me. So thanks very much for giving me the opportunity to share my story and, maybe, help some of your listeners and inspire them to, think about how they can, take the steps to build their own resilience and improve their life. So thank you so much.
And thank you for being brave in sharing your story as well, because, it is a hard subject to discuss.
Yes.
So remember, listeners, until next time, make sure you stay resilient.
Building resilience is a key life skill, a skill everyone needs to work at consistently. Life can throw us curveballs, from sickness to job loss, death and no purpose. But it's our inner strength to get back up, navigate the journey of change and build ourselves back up. If you'd like a free 30-minute one-on-one conversation with resilience coach Justine Martin, email yes please to hello@justinemartin.com.au. We hope you enjoyed the Resilience Mindset podcast. Remember to subscribe to the podcast to get your weekly fix listening to Resilience Queen Justine Martin. Follow Justine on social media at Resilience Mindset or log on to justinemartin.com.au. And until next time, remember, life doesn't get easier or more forgiving. We get stronger and more resilient.